What is good, NIO family? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only NIO stock and what you should be looking after for the future. I'm also going to break down why on Earth tomorrow is going to be a huge day for all NIO investors because it's going to be the last trading day before earnings ends up starting, which is going to be on Wednesday before the market opens. So before I break anything down about why tomorrow is going to be very interesting, why NIO might make an explosive move to the upside to fill this gap up here, and what the data is telling us about NIO, I do have to mention a couple of things before starting. Firstly, I'm not a financial planner. Make sure you take none of this as financial advice whatsoever. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. It not only benefits me, it benefits the entire NEO community as a whole. And the last things, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, whether it's $1 or $100, it's up to you. You're guaranteed up to 12 free stocks, each valued at up to $3,000. And the best part is, any could be a free NEO share. It's a limited time offer. The offer ends tomorrow, so make sure you check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So looking at NEO, this thing is actually up about 0.32% for the day. It actually closed kind of flat, not that great. We did actually base around this level, and that's what I was like mentioning yesterday, balancing and trying to balance around this like 9 to 9.13 area, and that is where NEO actually based. So once NEO came down here, it tried to bounce a little bit. We actually bounced about 9.5. We got very close to gap resistance. We failed right over there and came down. We actually held above 9.25, telling me that NEO once again is trying to base, and we're going to likely try to fill this gap very soon, which is going to take NEO above 9.8 and potentially over $10 very, very soon. Now, I do believe that's very likely, and I do think that there's going to be some hype approaching earnings, but you still have to be very careful. I'm going to break down exactly why. One of the things I want to mention is the fact that to end the year, this was for Q4, NEO actually delivered 40,000 vehicles. Now, the original target was about 43,000, but they did end up lowering it a little bit. The lowered target did actually, cause the NEO share price to drop to some degree back in like December. But now they had a pretty decent, or I would say pretty strong December. Q4 was pretty nice, so there is a good chance they'll do all right. But there are some analysts out there saying that, NEO's loss could widen after they did miss the original initial guidance, right? So because of that, I mean, it's really pretty mixed. We don't really know exactly how it's going to go. NEO could make a big move or not. We'll really just have to wait and see how this actually ends up going. And there are some companies out there, many analysts saying that NEO may not be profitable for a while. Some think that it may not happen until like 2025. Others are saying maybe 2024. My guess would be sometime either in like around 2024 or maybe near like the middle of it, who knows? But somewhere in that year, I do think that's when NEO is going to be very profitable. But I do think they're going to have quarters where they come close to breaking even, possibly this year, or at least they would have. It's just a little hard to predict given the current situation in China. Now, when it comes to NEO, they also tweeted that on February 16th, they launched their fourth power swap station in the Netherlands. Once again, very, very awesome stuff. More and more investors are now learning about NEO all over the world, and they are continuing to grow their business. I also want to mention that NEO's overall volume was 41 million for the day, just barely below average. And right now we're seeing a lot of call buying for NEO. The put to call ratios are just going down again and again. They're very low, particularly for March 17th, which is going to be the very notorious quadruple witching day. Quad witching is going to be happening on that day. So once again, very, very interesting stuff from the options chain. Most people are basically betting NEO will go up. That is actually incentivizing market makers to cause the opposite, and so far that is what's been happening. There was a relatively low price pairs ratio. I do think this will improve over time. Hopefully, after earnings, something comes out that's pretty decent. The short interest did go up over the last couple of days. Over the last 2 days, we saw an extra few million NEO shares get shorted. Over 4.2 plus million got shorted just on like Thursday. So once again, some investors are betting NEO will continue to drop. We'll just have to wait and see how that ends up going. Now, as for NEO, I want to talk about what I see happening to the share price. Right now, we're kind of stuck in the middle, and the market is trying to bounce just a little bit. We can see that SPY did drop a bit. We're likely going to try to fill this gap first, so I do see that potentially happening. coming all the way down to the 396 area, a little lower, then we might see the market try to bounce and still get stuck within this range because we are testing the original descending broadening wedge that kept the market down for quite a while. And I do believe that the market is going to have eventual downside. But for the time being, we might try to bounce off this like 396, 395 level and just continue pushing. If that happens, that could actually help NIO with an improved performance. I also want to note that Tesla has Investor Day on the same day that NIO has its earnings, so that could also be very good for EVs in general. If the triple Q does get a bit of a bounce and this thing does continue to push and fill this gap, once again, that could be bullish stuff. We might come down to fill this gap below first, so I do think there could be a bit of a pullback before another potential bounce and a push up, just like what we saw from before. On the VIX, I want to note to everyone, the VIX did not finish filling its gap down here. The VIX might push up a little and then continue to come down into the 19s. I could actually see it come all the way down to 20, maybe around the high 19s. If it does end up doing that, that means there could be a little bit more upside for the markets, right? Which could be bullish for NIO. Now, this upside won't last forever. I'm just saying it's probably going to be temporarily. So temporary upside could actually help NIO push up just for a couple of days and another week or so. But I do believe NIO is going to try to base around here and get a really nice push up to fill the gap around the 9.8 area and actually reach almost $10. Now, on the daily for NIO, we do actually have candles that look like this so far. So far, we're pretty indecisive. I do think there's likely going to be a nice improvement in the share price action going into tomorrow. However, I'm still optimistic for that, and I'm still very, very cautious at the same time. Now, with that said, I just wanted to say I really appreciate everyone that's a part of this channel. I want to note that right now the share price of NIO is not in the best of states because people are still very kind of like all over the place. And I just want to note that NIO is still a very, very strong company. I believe that right now, I'm not too worried about what happens because I know there's a very, difficult state that a lot of people in China are going through. We may not see the same demand that we saw in the past, but I just want to note to everyone going into the long term for NIO as they begin to expand to more countries and start to build more of the power swap stations, as they start to develop more, efficient cars, potentially a NIO phone if they do announce that during earnings. There still is very bullish news to come, and I believe that NIO has not broken its all-time high yet. I believe it will make new all-time highs. We just have to be patient with this stock. And with that out of the way, I want to thank each and every one of you for listening. NIO to the moon, because the long-term future is still incredibly bright. And peace out.